Okay, everyone, welcome to Built to Scale. This week we have Grok 4. Actually releases tomorrow, but we make it work with Super Grok. OpenAI takes a week off and we get Matt's reaction. Red wine is back, according to Huberman's most recent guest. I've got a groveling apology to the visionary Dyson automated strawberries. Xiaomi, my man, sells 300,000 units in a day. Jack Dorsey has a weekend project that'll probably take over the world somehow. DJI level up with a drone that could potentially fly Matt around. We'll do the math and see if that works. Matt's humanoid robot bet gets bigger and bigger. 1 million sales at K-scale humanoid robots. My tool of the week, which is making me feel enlightened and like I'm surrounded by dinosaurs who I'm adopting with me, and our parting wisdom of just do it.
Great headlines, Scotty. My headline that I think I might throw in there is I have been getting some good feedback on the pod and had some good comments, but what I noticed is not many people are subscribing. So like all good podcasts do, we're going to do the call out. We're not going to try advertise to you. We wouldn't get any advertisers stupid enough to pay money on this pod anyway. But what we will do is just ask you to hit that subscribe button. That'll help us grow this. So if you're liking what we're doing, the banter, the AI news, the business and tech, then hit that subscribe. It'll help us.
And I'm sure our brave producer will be putting a little subscribe button on as you say that. However, last week he had a slip up, and maybe you and I did too, because last week our producer fell asleep during the middle of the show and we had to wake him up once we were done.
Yeah, I had to go to a meeting and we've got to hit end on the record so it gets uploaded, we don't lose it. And yeah, it was quite funny that I couldn't get to my next meeting because he'd fallen asleep on us. So thanks for that, mate. Hopefully we can keep everyone awake with this week's podcast.
Yeah, it is the ultimate test. Can you keep your own producer awake? And in doing so this morning, you and I have woken up to the news that Grok 4, great headline, coming out obviously a few hours after we complete the show. So thanks for that, Elon. Definitely pulling a bit of a Sam Altman, but I've sort of summoned up what I could on this issue because I saw that the Super Grok button was there. So I asked Grok, the new Super Grok, it can come in different sort of, attitudes or modes. And one of them is the therapist mode of the new Grok. And I said, Therapist Grok, how can you help me deal with, as a podcast host, the fact that you're updating yourself 4 hours after our show's airing? And it said, hey, make a headline out of it anyway. By the time you release it, no one's going to know whether you had the actual news or not. So there's us using Grok to fix our Grok depression.
Yeah, it is very Sam Altman of Elon to release something just after we record, but I'm glad that we'll get the SEO from talking about Grok 4 anyway. Speaking of Sam Altman, I have decided, Scotty, in some breaking news, that I will be cancelling my OpenAI Pro subscription. The $200 a month is just not doing it for me anymore. We've talked about that OpenAI is very good at, as you're about to cancel your subscription, they drop something in and you get it early, but that hasn't happened. So sorry, Mr. Altman, you're too late this time. After this episode, I am going to be cancelling my OpenAI Pro subscription, saving the $200 a month. And then I've got a little bit of budget to play with any new tools. So you can expect a few exciting tool of the weeks coming up as I delve into other areas and diversify away from OpenAI.
So Zuck's gone and taken all of his stuff. That's then set off a chain reaction of them doing an internal review, of which they found out that all their staff worked too hard. So then they said you can have a week off. Therefore, they've had no product releases. Therefore, they've lost you.
Yep. So Zuck is really 4D chest, Mr. Altman, unless there's another play that's going on. And look, there's a lot of big players in the space. We're going to talk about, as you mentioned, Google VO3. I've tried it out now and it's pretty incredible, but I thought I'd touch base, Scotty. You, a couple of episodes ago, said you were going to run a dual track ecosystem, your Google ecosystem, And then you had, I think it was your OpenAI plus Mac ecosystem. How's that going? And how's your $500 a month Google crazy subscription that you signed up for?
Mate, that's a sensitive topic. End of, as I said last week, end of financial year, the reviews for the whole business, trying to sort of run a couple of businesses and the pod. How's my excuse factory coming out at the moment? I probably haven't leveraged the tools of the Google and Gemini updates as much as I would like. I've probably been a bit OpenAI heavy. I've found that the memory unlock, so the work you do, these things are so sticky because OpenAI's memory with me now, and in the pro version you get to do voice with the O3 model, which I think is a huge advance from the O4 model, and it's so sticky for me because it's got all my memory, so I can apply anything. I'm even going through Notebook LM and then back into OpenAI with the Notebook LM and then applying it to myself because it's got my memory stack in there. So I would say that I've completely unused my Google Play, and I think I'm going almost the other way. I had end of financial year subscription shame brought about me by our finance guru in here, who said, "What's Google Ultra?" And he goes, "Do you realize people use Google for free?"
You should have said, and you've now been busted for not watching my podcast, so go subscribe. Exactly. Otherwise, I'll be having a chat with you.
This will be the end of you. So, mate, the short answer is not as well as I would have liked. I was actually going to go the other way and pause the Google Ultra until I was ready to take on a new tool. Of which I'm clearly not, but I'm right at the end. We have our annual all-in review here of the business. We're bringing people down from Queensland Tuesday next week. And then I suspect, which I'll talk about later in the show, that I'll have some more time for tool testing like yourself, and maybe even some more budget. Actually, not after the reviews. There's no more budget. More on better front, though. My favourite headline of the week, last night, sitting in bed, Andrew Huberman's been red wine shaming me for at least 3 years now. He's converted the whole of Silicon Valley into stop drinking. Apparently there's like startup parties without alcohol at them, and they sound really boring. But it's creating billionaires. But what I've heard overnight on the Huberman podcast is he had this guy on about building muscle and losing fat. And Huberman set him up, the easiest setup of all time. Tell us about alcohol. And he was ready for the guy to say, it's all bad. And Huberman was going to celebrate.
It continues to be debated whether alcohol is good or bad for longevity. Plenty of studies recently showing that alcohol increases cancer risk.
We can't lump alcoholic beverages into this single bucket. The literature on red wine specifically, it actually has anti-cancer effects.
Huberman almost died on his own pod. But I sort of told my wife, I was celebrating in bed, and she told me I was a loser. But I slept really well. So welcome back, red wine, guilt-free. Not advocating for it on this pod because we might get TAC or someone as a sponsor. But yeah, what do you think?
Did you sleep well because you cracked open a bottle and finished it?
I actually slept well because I hadn't drank. As opposed to last week's show, if you do a quick check, you'll see I'm in much better condition this week. So,
mate, your skin's looking glowing.
Maybe Huberman's onto something, but I'm hanging on. So, anyway, that's given me a real boost today. We'll see how my day ends. Probably, as you can imagine. And then on to some sadder news, though. I just wanted to formally apologise to the visionary, Mr. Dyson, about his automated strawberry farm, and also welcome him into the Elysium ecosystem for the home veggie garden upgrade, automated home veggie gardens. So at Elysium, we're looking to automate every part of the house, and a house ideally produces or receives calories to the family, and that appears to be a great initiative by Mr. Dyson. So welcome him into the ecosystem, and I never doubted him, unlike yourself last week.
Yeah, I've always been in this camp, but that's actually a really fascinating idea, a self-sustaining home, growing your own veggies and not relying on the supermarkets. If Elysium does that, you have fully got me all in, Scotty.
Well, I wouldn't just say Elysium is, I won't give away too much here, but to give you an idea, I don't think the home, you should be relying on anything. I think a home should produce its own energy. I think a home should produce its own compute. I think a home should complete all the chores you can imagine, cooking, cleaning, every working room or thing you see in your home in terms of maintenance or thing you'd prefer to be just sitting at home with your family, enjoying and not doing. I believe the home can do that for you. So anyway, that's a little look into what we're looking at the moment.
Little teaser. I love it. I love it. Let's get into it. What have we got first off on the docket?
Mate, talk to me about Jack Dorsey. He doesn't say, he's one of those people now that doesn't say much, but when he does, it feels like it lands pretty heavily. I think a month or two ago, he said delete IP, and I think he might be slightly ahead of his time there. I think a few people got cranky, but what's he said this weekend?
Yeah, and I hope I don't go over on this because I'm pretty excited by it, but I'll try and keep it short. Jack Dorsey, so founder of Twitter, now X, he has been a pretty prolific entrepreneur. He's also started a company that was initially called Square, now Block, I believe, that started in payments. They do a whole lot of crypto things, and now Cash App, which is one of Block's apps, powers a whole lot of, it's like a PayPal competitor or a Venmo competitor in the US, and it powers a lot of financial transactions. So he's a really impressive guy, and he's put this post out about a weekend project to learn about Bluetooth mesh networks. What that means and what he's released is something called BitChat. So literally this is, if it is just a weekend project, it's very impressive. He's put it on the Apple App Store via test flight. So it's not even approved on the Apple App Store yet. You can only get a maximum of 10,000 people to download this. It maxed out probably in a few minutes of people downloading this. But what BitChat is, it's an offline messenger. So when you think of something like WhatsApp, say, for me to send a WhatsApp message to you, we have to be connected to the internet because that's how it does it. It sends a signal to a satellite, the satellite connects it, and it goes over the internet. With BitChat, what it does is it uses the people around you to relay the message. So it's like this classic idea of a network. If enough people are on it, it becomes more valuable. So you can imagine that just using the Bluetooth protocol, we could both download it. If we were in the same room, we could message each other. But then if you were less than 30 meters away from someone else down the road, I could message that person because the message would go from you and it would hop over to them in a really fast and secure way. And so he's just testing this out. But you can imagine the power of this. If everyone was using it, you wouldn't actually have to send your messages through other people's servers. It would all just connect via these different nodes in the network. So I think this is really cool because I'm a nerd and I love this kind of stuff. But if we take this one step further and think about some of the applications of it, other than just chat, being also in construction, one of the biggest pieces of feedback we get is if you're working construction down in, say, a basement where there's no internet reception, a lot of the software doesn't work. Imagine if we could actually use these protocols whereby Bluetooth would connect up to the people who are not in the basement, that's connected to the internet, and you essentially get internet access via this cool Bluetooth mesh network. So that's the nerdy chat on it. Maybe BitChat will become the new WhatsApp in the future, and he's got another multi-billion-dollar business, or it's just cool technology that can then be applied elsewhere. It's actually not too different, the tech, from something like Apple AirDrop. And he has mentioned that if Wi-Fi capabilities were added, direct Wi-Fi, you could actually transfer things at a higher rate. So cool piece of tech from our man, Mr. Dorsey, that I really liked.
Well, the good news is that he's deleting IP, so it'll be open source, and you'll be able to just plug it into BuildPass, and off we go. So thanks, Jack, for
Thanks, Jack.
all your philanthropic tech adventures. Yeah, mate. The next one, my friends over at Xiaomi, who have China locked up at the moment in terms of car, home, and device ecosystem. The CEO is unbelievably popular, viral, and they've just released or pre-released their second car. $300,000 pre-sales in a day, of which you can't withdraw from. And in China, I'm tipping if you can't withdraw from, you can't, or else there might be a certain police wheel that comes after you later that we'll talk about. So he's...
So how many was that? How many pre-orders and how much people paid for that?
So they've paid an unrefundable deposit. I'm not sure what the exact amount is, but it's 300,000 sales in a day.
Wow.
And what's great about this guy is he said, because the backlog is so long, he actually said, in the meantime, if you can't wait, just go get yourself a Model Y, because that's a great car as well. And I just loved the idea of the confidence of that.
Yeah.
We're seeing at the moment the best CEOs, the founder type CEOs, are so confident in their own product. They're happy to talk and go to talks with other founders and CEOs and celebrate what they're doing. So I just think this guy's a rock star. That company is amazing in terms of devices and the ecosystem they're building and the products they can launch. And that kind of demand, and that's that virality we were talking about last week. Like, it's just distribution. So apparently whenever he does anything, he wears a shirt, it gets sold out in minutes. So he's just created a platform out of himself. And, you know, 300,000 car sales, that's probably how many sales happen in Australia a year altogether in cars or something.
It's crazy. And the car, I don't know much about Xiaomi, but I had a look at this car. It looks incredible. It looks like a Porsche. Like, I can see why people have signed up to buy this. If it works well and it's electric, it's probably half the price. It looks incredible.
Well, China deleted IP like 30 years ago. So I think he's been pretty upfront that he likes Porsches.
Get with the times, Jack.
So I think it's pretty known that he likes Porsches, and these things look like Porsches. They're just 10% of the price. So keep an eye out. I think the West is starting to take note of this brand because they've done the fight off Huawei government backed. But Xiaomi, this guy is his own man. So be interesting to see how the West try and push him back in his box. I don't think we can. I think it's a force to be reckoned with. So anyway, for those listening to this pod, to stay in touch with those kind of things, keep an eye out. Maybe get yourself a little phone, tablet, or even a car. Mate, let's continue with the AI news. So OpenAI, even though they've had a week off, they've managed to do a deal with Oracle.
Yes, it's a big deal. So OpenAI and Oracle have actually pretty quietly struck this deal. There wasn't heaps of news about it. You had to kind of search for it. It's a $30 billion deal whereby OpenAI is going to rent data center usage and compute power from Oracle. And so I'm sure you remember, Scotty, we discussed this on one of our first pods, maybe one of the ones that didn't actually get released, about the Stargate project. I think this was back in January. That was an announcement for $500 billion in investment into AI through a consortium. And part of that consortium were OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank, our friend Massa. And so I think it's as part of this Stargate project that now OpenAI has agreed to $30 billion a year for rent from Oracle. To put that into context, Oracle, as a well-established company, has about $57 billion in annual revenue. So they have just increased their revenue by 50% with one deal. Imagine being the sales rep that struck this deal. Like, what's your commission on that?
It's got to be 1%. Surely that's a 500 milli commission.
That is a big commission. So it's more than 50% of their revenue. And so this is, I'm surprised this isn't bigger news than it actually is, unless we're missing something here. So that will be interesting to see. And I think part of the reason that OpenAI is doing this is because the relationship with Microsoft, I don't think it's been smooth sailing. I think there's been a bit of a rocky road there, and this is probably diversification of where they're getting their compute from. OpenAI basically saying, we're not just going to build all our own data centers, at least not yet, like what, say, Google and Microsoft are trying to do, but partnering up with a behemoth like Oracle and paying them $30 billion a year for it.
I love it. Yeah, and I hope you post it on the wall at BuildPass and sales shame the team and say this is what the guy at Oracle's
new
done this
bar.
week. What have you done? Like Elon's, what have you done this week? I hope you shine on that. Yeah, look, there's not much to add for me from there. I think this data center thing is obviously growing and growing. And it's the energy and data center combination that's the real interesting space for me. I saw Tesla was building out these battery factories that can handle the up and down swings of training GPU clusters for data centers. So they're probably looking one step further into the energy side of things, because at the moment there's like a 5-year wait for nuclear in the States. There's a 100-year wait in Australia for nuclear. And, you know, the grid demand of these data centers is as big, in the next 10 years is going to be as big as the whole grid at the moment. So interesting to see how energy gets involved in these kind of deals. But it's pretty clear that the frontier models are now thinking about their sort of traffic jam in where they're heading, and they're all seeing it as compute and hardware. So build out the data centers. Really interested to find out who the builder is actually, because I wonder what they're charging. So that's where my mind goes to. Mate, the next piece of news, VO3 available to all users now for Google, and that's how you lose someone like me, is taking something exclusive to us, spending $300 and giving it to the everyday Joe for free. I might be out, but you're in. So tell us a bit about VO3.
I'm in. So I'm paying 10% of what you are or were for Google at my $20 a month, and Google have provided now VO3, which is their video generation model, to pro users. So on that $20 a month plan. For me, video generation, I haven't played a lot in this space. We always see it on X and everything, but you know how with AI, we've kind of had these aha moments whereby AI blows you away and it feels like a shift. That happened for me first with chat. So with the chat interface, the ability to talk with it and then respond back, and seeing that happen live. The first time that happened, I'm sure everyone remembers the moment. It was a real, quite a surreal moment. We say, hey, this is a leap forward in technology. The next moment for me was agents, watching something just keep on going on my behalf and do the work for me. That was the next one. And I only tried VO3 recently, and I think it was the next frontier for me because of the quality. And so I just put like some silly prompts in, like do Scott and Matt announcing the show as robots. So basically, like we were doing with image generation, but with video. And the quality is just, it's almost indistinguishable from reality. And so for me, that's the next aha moment, because what does it mean for all media and entertainment, this video generation, and the fact that this cost me $20 a month, and I don't know how much I can use it, but you can get a decent hit out with it. So I don't know if you've played much in the space or seen many videos, but to me, this video generation is kind of the next frontier. And Elon actually, I think he might have hinted what Grok 4 might be able to do, because he had a tweet around, it said AI video generation is moving at the speed of light, which I think was a bit of a nerdy pun from him, talking about light and video. But potentially it was hinting at what Grok 4 is going to be able to do.
Yeah, so to me, with the Elysium brand we're building at the moment, my direction was that everything has to be generated by AI, all the content. So it's AI native. So it's basically in the theme of what is the business. It's not, because I'm already running a traditional construction company. You know, if you're gonna be like an AI native business, everything has to be drawn that way. So all the marketing collateral, all the branding, everything generated by AI. And then so it'll get better and better. But so I think that's what VO3 is opening up, is if you've got traditional marketing spend and your marketers are not looking at this, your marketing, branding, content team, and are saying, oh, no, that's, it's so far away, it sucks, then you need to have a chat with your marketing and branding team. And to be honest, I'm looking the same. We have a pretty thin finance division at the moment. And I just saw like the ChatGPT for Excel came out of Y Combinator and Stanford this week, and it's looking like it's putting together P&Ls and balance sheets and things like that. So in general, I think these models are coming for everything, and the video models are super exciting. My only worry for the video models is how much compute and cost of compute they have. Like how much compute do they drain, how many tokens, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure about the conversion of what a 1 minute video looks like in terms of cost of compute compared to a 1 hour conversation. So how are they going to balance that out? Because there's a limit to the available compute at the moment.
Yeah. But it would definitely, if you were going to be using it for, instead of paying a marketing director to go and engage someone to shoot content and do a full day shoot, it's definitely going to be cheaper than that, like doing that with AI. So it's, I see what you mean for sure. It's going to be more expensive, but if you're comparing it to traditional ways of capturing video, it's going to be chalk and cheese.
100%. Yeah, no, my theory more is like, how much are they going to let you use it? Is there going to be an unlimited usage because of how much of their compute it takes up? Or are they going to have to ration it out? But I mean, they are giving it to the $30 a month, which we both are now. So it's going to get some heavy use. I know when when OpenAI did the Gimli image generation, it basically broke them.
Yeah, it melted their servers.
So you've got to be careful when you open up to some real retail product experiences. Mate, we'll move on. The headline that I put forward, which we need to chat about because it's not confirmed yet, but the confirmation is that DJI now have a drone that can fly around with 80 kilo payloads, which when I was over in DJI in Shenzhen, I was taking a really good look at a 35 kilogram payload that had 20 kilometers of range, which is kind of wild when you think about controlling that from your living room. 80 kilogram drone. Do we have a chance to put you in the air and take you wherever you want to go?
Scotty, the last time that I was under 80 kilos was in high school. So I will not be getting taken in the air. And I did show this one to my wife because I was so impressed by it. And she goes, oh, it's kind of like the flying fox in China, because when we were in China, we were at one of these parks and we all stood up to go on the flying fox, and they made me weigh myself before getting on. And I wasn't allowed on the flying fox because I was too heavy.
Only in China could that happen. It was China. You're a lean man.
I know. So it's DJI have they've just snuck me in. So no, this drone won't be carrying me, but it is very impressive. 80 kilos can carry a lot. Like we've heard of, Amazon deliveries happening, like little packages happening via drone. You could get, a small electric scooter delivered, or you can get construction materials delivered at 80 kilos. So this is super impressive, and I guess it just shows that exponential technology curve. Like pre the 35 kilo limit that you saw in China, maybe it was 10, then it's 35, then it's 80. Like, where is this going to be in a couple of years? Are these going to replace helicopters? It's pretty crazy. And yeah, I can see you smiling. Yes, hopefully we will be able to have our own personal drones taking us around, even at above 80 kilos.
Yeah, my worry is that it's still got a bit to go before it gets me anywhere. But look, mate, I'm a big believer in DJI. They're a big part of our workflow moving forward. And I think that they have not a monopoly, but a market share that's pretty extreme, and they're in a very tight feedback loop of innovation. I reckon the horse is bolted on drone. I know there's the only area I'm seeing the US get involved, maybe like an Amazon, maybe, but they're probably using DJI drones somewhere. But but like the US seem to be getting all their capital in terms of defense drones. They're scaring everyone into, $100 billion valuations with like one drone that hasn't been proven. But DJI, horses bolted on the retail front. I think they're awesome. I love them as a company. And so, but that's very, very cool. Mate, the next one, which is a tool I'm sure you use, and all the coders in the world seem to be using it. I don't use it at all. So what is the update from Cursor?
Yeah, so Cursor, coding tool that took the market by storm probably almost 12 months ago now, because it's a really easy way of writing code. It does a lot for you. It's got agents that do it. And it's in that category of being able to do, vibe coding. Just put a prompt in, it builds the software for you. But it's a tool that proper software engineers are also using, because you still manage the whole code base like you used to in a text editor, but you've got added AI capabilities. So it's become really popular. They've hit like 500 million in ARR or something in less than 2 years, just crazy growth. A few updates from them, not massive updates. One of them that I thought was cool though was the ability to kick off Cursor tasks from a web browser, like just from your phone. So you can be on the move. You could talk to you do voice to text into your phone, and you could say, you know what, I've got an idea for an app. I want to build this, blah, 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 blah. And it would actually go and start doing that task for you in the background. You get home from your drive, you open up Cursor, and it's done the task, and you've got all the code there, and you can start working on it. So it's moving us, this update is at least moving us into this more remote mobile world whereby you can kind of do knowledge work from anywhere. And as soon as the thought pops up, soon when we've got the Neuralink, we'll just be able to think it and it will start working on it for us. But I also saw a video that I haven't watched fully yet, but from a guy called Greg Eisenberg. To everyone who is into, or wants to test out startup ideas and software development and vibe coding, he's got a really good podcast. And the guy he had on recently was someone who showed him how he uses Cursor for basically everything. So it's getting rid of this mindset that you just have to use it to build software and be a coder, because it's got this really good interface of how you interact with AI, and it can do things for you and you can manage documents for you. He actually does a bunch of things, like to your point, managing finance. He uses Cursor to manage his financials. He is doing it for a whole other range of tasks. He's basically starting to automate his life using this tool. So it's another way that people are starting to essentially have agents doing work for them. And I just thought that was really interesting, because I'd never thought of Cursor as a tool to do other things. And it's even more reason to download it and use it and start playing around, because then you get the you not only get the power of a full-blown coding tool when you want it, you can start to learn how this stuff works. You can actually use it for other things. So I might actually explore using it as like my note taker, for example, for to-do lists, and interacting with the AI to manage my to-do list and my note taking. Maybe we can get rid of your hated Notion document that we use and all the other software subscriptions we have. But yeah, it's a couple of cool updates from the Cursor team.
So can you, for the audience and even for me, talk to me about the difference between Manus, Cursor, and Replit or Lovable?
Cool. They're good examples because I see all of them on a bit of a spectrum. So if the spectrum was at a high level, just want to get tasks done, you want to put in one prompt and something just to do stuff for you, is on one side. And the other side, it's I want that functionality, but I want all the control. I want to see the code. I want to be able to do the coding myself if I need to and really set it up. Cursor's on that side. Cursor, you get all of the source code. You can see how it's all working. And it's basically, it's like you would have used to build software pre-AI with AI on top of it. At the other end is fully it's just doing tasks for you. You don't know what's going on. It's probably not going to build software for you. It's just doing tasks. It's kind of like ChatGPT. Where Bolt and Lovable sit is in the middle. They are built for creating software, but you don't really get access to the source code. You're still just prompting it and saying and testing it, and you get the result, but you you can't get under the hood of it, at least as far as I'm aware. Maybe you can, but it's not naturally built into the product. So it's kind of this like real spectrum of where you want to sit as far as how deep under the hood of the tools that you want to go.
Okay, so our producer, if he's awake, he can put a little image up with cursor at the coding end, under the hood, lovable and bolt in the middle, a bit of art coding, but still for coders, and then your manus for straight, just tasks being completed without having the opportunity to really get involved at the other end.
Totally. Yep. But this would be a good test to see if he's awake.
Fantastic. Well, if he's awake, you can also throw to the robot rundown. where the rubber meets the road in technology, and not just the rubber, the skin. Gentact. What can you tell us about Gentact's recent news and who they are?
Cool. So this is definitely beyond my realm of expertise, but I'm going to attempt to explain it. Gentact is a piece of software, essentially, out of Cornell University. It was very hard to find. There's basically nothing on it apart from a post on X from our man, Mr. Adcock, was how I found out about it. And then they've got a research paper as well. And so from what I can tell, it's a piece of software that allows you to build or design the skin that goes outside of robots. And the point of the skin on the robots is a bit like the point of skin on humans, is to allow touch and feeling and to make sure that they can navigate around the world. And so I was less maybe interested in the technology, but more on what this means for the future of humanoids. And you can see that they are truly going to become human-like with things like touch. And, we've seen many of our humanoid robot companies investing in things like how do they sense, how do they know when they've picked an object up, how can they tell what that object is. It does seem like this way of building skins for these robots is going to become a thing, and that's going to only make them exponentially better than they already are. So that's why I thought it was a really cool release, even if it's very early stage and there isn't a heap of press about it.
Yes. Have you ever seen the old Robin Williams movie Bicentennial Man, where he's a robot working in a family? So definitely some homework for you. So he's a robot that then gets skin and then becomes part of the family. So he was like a robot servant for a family, gets an operation, gets skin, and becomes part of the family. So I think it's a big deal for the future of robotics. At the moment, we're all getting comfortable seeing the Tesla type humanoid or the figure type humanoid with the screen face and things like that. And then the next step is sort of just having them appear like humans or things like that. So I know this is very early in terms, it's more about sensory and covering and having it act like skin, but I think then the look like is probably the next step after that. So definitely very exciting news. The next one, I know we said we weren't an expert in that, but Robocop Hamster Ball sounds right down our alley, and our friends, the Chinese, have unleashed the Robocop Hamster Ball. We'll play a video of it. It looks like the front wheel of the motorbike from one of the Batman movies, and it can roll around and shoot spiderwebs at people and really, I don't know, take control of whatever public area it wants to go in, I suppose.
I do hope that we're not getting VO3'd right now, and this is just AI that's generated. But given the state of robotics and what we've seen China unleashing before, it wouldn't surprise me if this is real. So yeah, it's like equal parts dystopian, but also hilarious, just seeing this wheel rolling around and then able to shoot nets at people in protests. And what I found the funniest actually when I was watching the video, and we can play this part of it exactly, was the fact it rolls through water. So it floats, sort of just rolls through the water and then can shoot its net out of there. So yeah, it's crazy that we're not just seeing the potential of humanoids, but even just rolling hamster wheels.
Yeah. Working for the government. So
yeah,
let's hope the private sector. It's funny, in America, you have the Second Amendment. You could probably get your own hamster wheel to fight back. shoot spiderwebs out to defend from your property. So good news for you heading over there, mate. Since we're in the robot rundown, every fortnight we bring in our man Brett Adcock. He's had another big interview, which means he's probably doing another round. He does a round a month. So the guy knows how to burn capital. He's come on a podcast and just reinforced, I think, Mark Andreessen's gone with it. Elon's gone with it. All the big players are going with it, basically saying the size of the robotics economy is bigger than the current total economy of the world. That's where it's going. So we've been talking about it week on week on week for months now, since the start of the show. So if you're not getting it, start to get it. So some of the main points he's saying: true AGI deployment is only really possible once it's in physical AI. And humanoid robot is the most natural place for that to take place, because if the purpose is it's generally smarter and more useful than most humans, it's got to have some sort of physical presence, which makes sense to me. And just, he was saying, like, how has this been unlocked? He mentioned that, the old robots out of Boston Dynamics and things like that were hydraulic systems. And, now they're obviously working on electric system robots. And I think the other thing that he's trying to get out there, once you start thinking about, their valuation, how much robots they need to sell to actually make that valuation work, is he's trying to get on the front foot to make everyone comfortable. Just saying it, because so many people are just going about their day busy. Until they see these things on the street, they're not really going to start understanding them. But you can see these big investors and people who've gone in on robotics really saying, get comfortable, because there's going to be more of them than us.
Yeah, it's like any of these big companies that are doing stuff on the cutting edge. Like, for example, Google didn't want to release their LLMs in a chat interface because they saw how good and scary they were, and they didn't think the world was ready, and they thought it was going to cannibalize out their ad revenue. But and I guess Sam Altman has been the same with OpenAI. He's having to prime the world for AGI and basically saying, guys, this is coming, get ready, so that when it does, and it's essentially protecting your future interests as a company. So Brett, who's got a humanoid robot company, he doesn't want to build all the technology and then get to the end of it and everyone goes, nah, that's too scary. That's like Ex Machina and we don't want that in the home. He's priming the world for it, which I think is a really smart thing to do. And yeah, you're right. He's probably also doing the rounds, about to do another ridiculous capital raise. And that's why he's talking about the future and how close it is.
He coincidentally had one walk behind him in the first minute of the podcast. He's like, oh, it looks like there's one behind me now. Like, come on, mate. Come on. The other thing, he said is that robots are going to become better than humans at everything. So we've spoken about how the autonomous car is basically the highest risk activity that most humans partake in, because it's the most cause of accidental death. So solving that problem was actually the hardest problem to solve, because as soon as there's one death in an autonomous vehicle, it's like having 1,000 deaths naturally in terms of liability and things like that. And then the brain surgery from another country through a robot, through a doctor operating in another country, that was probably the most dexterity a robot needed. So once you solve for those two, everything else is coming. So can a robot lay pipe in a trench? Probably. So I'm not going to name the trades that's got to worry there, but everything is up for grabs. So they're briefing the world now. It's called, in media, sometimes they call it flying a kite, just to see the way the wind's blowing. And and just to basically let the world have a reaction. So by the time that you do release something, there's a positive feel or there's a comfort with it. So well done to our man flying the kite on Robotics week in, week out. The people who just broke through without a kite, a K-Scale. Your, I assume, favorite company, as they've proved you right. They have had 1 million orders. Or no, was it $1 million in orders or 1 million orders? Either way, they have sold what looks like thousands of these humanoid robots. And I saw one video of one in a shopping trolley picking out groceries with someone. So, like, as in, like if you had a child grabbing the lollies off the shelf. So, you're on.
Yeah, I'm on. Look, I when I saw this, I thought it was actually 1 million orders as well. It is $1 million. I've just checked in orders. So the good thing about that, though, Scotty, is I believe they said that the first 10,000 of them could be picked up from San Francisco. So if my quick math is correct, press the wrong button. If we are at 10,000, 1, 2, 3, and then divided by 1 million, there's only been 100 orders so far. So that's actually, that's leaving me a lot of room to go pick up my robot.
We might have to do some post-production on the headline. We've sent their share price skyrocketing. They've got 1 million orders. They've got 100 orders. So
well, I'm sitting on. I'm kind of divided now because part of me says there's opportunity for me to get this robot now. Because if it was 1 million orders and then they had 10,000, that's kind of like the Xiaomi. We're not getting that car for a while. You go back to buy a Tesla. But with the $1 million in order since their launch on July 1st, 9 days ago, that's 100. So that's leaving plenty of room to move. And I guess my bet of having humanoids in the home is still going to be home because that's at least 100 of them.
Yeah, and there are some cool videos around. So keep an eye out for K-Scale Labs. They've developed, a cheaper. They're not going for the Tesla Optimus or the Figure AI. Very expensive humanoid. They've just got something out there a bit more like how a startup might work in software, just getting something to market and then iterating, as opposed to perfecting it. But I reckon it's official. You've made it. So congratulations. And mate, let's jump out of robotics because we could talk about it all day. But I want to take us into tool of the week. And this week's tool, which we've spoken about a lot, and there's a lot of different versions, and I'm just going to call it in general the AI note taker. My experience started over a year ago with Otter. I went to a private function and the CEO was talking, and I thought, wow, that sounds great. And probably before that, it was probably when Copilot for Teams first came out. It was kind of useless. And sort of gone on to then Fireflies, which I found was better than Otter personally, and then also added the Limitless Pendant, which we've spoken a lot about. But what I'm finding now, and especially as I do all the company reviews, and then the Limitless had some prompts for me at the end of each day saying, do you want to know what your actions are from the day? Do you want a summary of your conversations? And then it started getting a bit more. What are your takeaways? How did you handle certain situations today? Where can you improve? What have you learned? And what I'm finding is, once this thing builds the memory of you, and I'm in a 24-hour feedback loop of improvement on how I'm acting and what I'm doing during the day. And then also I've got now I've got an accountability partner that's listening to everything I'm doing. So what I've seen and what my staff have said to me over the last week or two is like my communication has picked up incredibly compared to how I was before, because and then the way I'm actually behaving or speaking at work is different because I'm getting feedback every day, whether I like it or not. It's right there. And it's like, it's third party. It's got no interest in like, it doesn't think I'm its boss. It doesn't think I'm its husband. It doesn't think anything. It's just saying, this is how you behave, and this is how this is the best way to behave, or this is how this thing could have been done better. So I just think that the two tools I'm using on a day-to-day are Fireflies and Limitless. Both of them within 15 minutes can give you a really, really good laid out summary, not just a transcript and a crap summary. And then towards the end of the day, you're going to have action list for you and all the people that you've spoken to that day, and you can send them out if you like. And then it's iterating and building memory. And, you know, I feel like I'm on a super tight feedback loop of improvement, as opposed to, you know, some people are only getting feedback once a year. I know I've been in that scenario before. So, just feel like, and then to be a bit of a snob to those around me, suddenly, you know, when you get into something, it's like a new pair of shoes and you look at your old pair of shoes. I'm looking at all these once a year feedback loop folk and thinking, you know, that's not, you got to be on the improve quicker.
I love that. And I think you might be onto something here. We've had the, you know, optimize your health trend, which is still ongoing, but everyone wearing fitness trackers like the Whoop bands and starting to get blood tests done just to optimize their health. But you don't hear a lot about what you've just talked about in the personal and professional development. And that's what it seems to be unlocking for you. So I think it's a really good point. Why keep feedback to 360-degree reviews once a year when you could be getting the feedback from AI every 24 hours? That's incredible.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an improvement for me, because it's also, as I've said, you know, about the choir, about the staff, from my family. The feedback's pretty consistent. So, so when it's consistent, means it's probably right. So anyway, if you're out there, have a look at any sort of AI note taker and see if it's got an actionable list or to-do list and some memory. But for me, Fireflies and Limitless. And once again, I'm pretty sure that you're allowed to take notes. So in the workplace especially, don't be afraid to tell the person you're speaking to, I'm taking notes digitally.
Yeah, and I think the thing to remember as well is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's not actually getting the recording. You can't play back what their actual voice. All you can do is get a transcript. So it's the equivalent as if you were in a meeting and you were just typing the transcript really fast, or like in a courtroom, the person who is scribing is doing. So I think that's how they operate, and hopefully that makes people feel a little bit more comfortable with the fact.
Yeah, and sometimes it does confuse me with the person I'm talking to. So I have to then say, hey, that wasn't me, pull that one and keep the rest. You can then throw that into your ChatGPT that's also got your memory and work with it. But either way, you're capturing data on yourself, and everything to do with AI is data capture. So if you can capture the data of your day, that's a win. And I believe we have a second tool of the week, which you promised us potentially last week or the week before. So what have you promised us? Have you delivered?
I have not delivered. I didn't build it, but I will give the actual pitch. I don't think I gave the actual pitch last week, did I?
It was a hint, maybe. And I said maybe it was a take offline conversation.
Yeah. And I've snuck it back into the agenda. So maybe our producer will decide to get rid of it. But no, I'm gonna bring this round. I'm gonna bring it home. So as I mentioned, I think briefly last week, I'm using some AI and some agents to help do things like preparing our podcast agenda, because rather than me just always scrolling the news, I want to make sure we don't miss stuff. And so it got me thinking about different ways of interacting with that kind of experience. So, for example, it was a long document. It had all the things in there and sort of picking and choosing. Then we've got to take things over from that, what it suggested we could talk about, put it into our docket. It takes a bit of time, and it wasn't the best interaction for me. But I was thinking, what if there was an app that was kind of like Tinder, or kind of like seeing quick reels, whereby it would pick the most relevant information that we want to talk about on the podcast, and it would show it in a short clip And kind of like Tinder, I can swipe left or right. Is that relevant? Is that something that's important to me? And throughout the week, we could just go through our Tinder matches of news, and then we get to the next podcast episode, and it's already started to build out the agenda of what we should be talking about. And so, yes, I get it that not everyone listening to this is going to be creating their own podcast, but think about how that kind of interface could work in other areas of life. To your point, Scotty, of personal improvement each day, maybe it's the interface of you just get pop-ups rather than being on Instagram Reels and just looking at absolute crap mostly. It's like, this is an insight from your day. What would you like to do with it? Would you like to remember that for next time? Was it not relevant to you? So that's my pitch for an app that I, in all my spare time, with moving my family and stuff over to the US trying to run a business, am going to try and build. So keep an eye out for that. And if anyone's got any recommendations for what the name should be, preferably some kind of cheesy spin-off of Tinder, that'd be much welcomed.
I get it. So you basically, it's sort of you can make it basically a funnel for anything you're interested in, right? Or anything you want to do. And I think Perplexity are sort of attempting something similar. However, preparing for this show, I liked a bunch of Perplexity stories, and then I couldn't even find where they went. So they haven't nailed this. And then you and I have this heavy lift from whatever platform we're getting our news and distilling it and then dragging it into this Notion thing that you dragged me into, and then have to like do these subheadings and all that kind of stuff. So I love the idea, and it actually leans right into our section of parting wisdom, which is just do it, Matthew. So don't just pitch it on here. You have a very long flight. With a young child that I'm sure your wife would love to take care of on that flight. And if you are not with Qantas, you might have the internet, and you could potentially build it on that flight over to Austin, if you're given some spare time or if your baby has a snooze. So, mate, what I wanted to talk today with parting wisdom, because we didn't do it last week, because I was getting through it like Carl Stefanovic. I just had to battle through and get through, and there wasn't much wisdom apart from get to bed early. So this week, the parting wisdom is just do it. Now, some of the ways I'll sort of set this up, and then we can go from there. But I think some of the actions I've seen from you recently around grabbing the family and heading to Austin, I've seen and heard about some bold new ambitions at Build Pass about sort of going, it, we're going for it. We're going for everything here. Us bothering to get up and do this pod. So it sounds a bit a bit navel gazing here, but it's, we're talking about our own experiences. And then I've personally, setting up through these reviews, I'm setting up my time to go 50-50 on W and Elysium to take it from a project to a business. And sort of, which is really hard as a business owner to go to sort of like relinquish some responsibility of one of your babies to really put an eye to the future. And we've spoken about how to carve out time to actually do some of the things we're talking about. And then I had some, just to back it up, some experiences from some pretty famous people. So Henry Ford, creator of the car, broke when he started Ford. Walt Disney, bankrupt with his first business before he started Disney. Tesla, SpaceX, and Apple were about to not be able to make payroll before some event happened, and now they're the biggest companies in the world. So to give people some inspiration, you can not have much left in the tank and still redirect your own time to just do that thing that you've been talking about, or that's sitting in your Apple Notes, or that you think would make you happy, or, the dream you want to do. And so thanks to Phil Knight for giving us that saying. But what are your thoughts on the concept?
I completely agree with it. And from a timing perspective, there has never been a better time for two reasons. Number one, the barrier to being able to do anything is so low. Any piece of knowledge in the world that you want, any insight that you want to capture, anything that you want to automate and build is really possible now with AI. So that's one reason. But the other reason, and probably more to, I think this is actually a quote from Zuck, around the most risky thing to do is not to take risk. And I think the same thing applies right now with how corporations are changing and our work is changing. I think the riskiest thing to do right now is to keep doing exactly the same thing that you've been doing. So I think that really, it sort of ties in nicely to the just do it of just start doing, because there's so many resources out there. And I would leave people with this. Every time that I have started something, and I've started lots of stupid things, they've always benefited me in some way, whether it's building a network, whether it's gaining knowledge. Any event that I've gone to that I didn't want to go to, I've always benefited from it. So I completely agree with Mr. Knight's saying of just do it. And I like the parting wisdom.
Yep. And I think that's a great final thought to leave it on. And also the last one is I just did it and got you Pez.limited. the domain. So as I'm starting to build out Scotty.inc in the background, I'm going to hand over the reins to Pez.ltd, and I'm expecting this just do it attitude to be broadcast to the world and follow your journey, your personal journey along what you're doing.
It was a very kind going away present that I appreciated, and now I've just got to add another thing to my plate, another website to build. So thank you very much for that one. I will just do it and get on with it.
Okay, mate. Well, just do it. Have a great week.
See you, Scotty.